The 80-20 principle is a fascinating law that applies across a wide variety of domains. For example, 20% of people own 80% of the land. 20% of the people own 80% of the wealth. 20% of people drink 80% of the beer. 20% of people do 80% of drugs. I mean, you could just apply this to almost any area and you're gonna find that this rule holds fast, which is really interesting because you don't typically find things that hold fast in a wide variety of domains, but this does. So having recognized that, I think it's interesting to ask, how can we apply this to our own lives to benefit us? And I think the number one thing there is that 20% of the work you put in will get you 80% of the results. So if you can look at your life and what you need to get done and find the 20% of work that will produce the 80% of results, if you can continually do this, you will get more done, you will be more successful, and you will do it in a shorter amount of time than a majority of people. Because this isn't something you just do once and it's done. This is a way of thinking where you're always looking for that 20% of action, which will get you 80% of results. How do you figure that out though? Well, I think one thing is just experience, lifetime experience. You can look back and see certain actions which had a disproportionate result. Like you're like, I did that for only 2 hours and I got this massive result. And whereas I did this other thing for 10 hours and I got almost nothing. So with experience, you can kind of get a feel for that. Another way to do it is you take your to-do list and you look for that one thing that your mind is screaming at you to not do. Like, don't do that. That'll be too hard. You'll fail. It's difficult. Fuck that. Don't bother. That's what your mind says, and then you do it anyways. Because typically, when you have a lot of mental resistance built up around something, that's what you need to do most. Tim Ferriss has another way of looking at this. He says, take your to-do list and find the one thing on there that would make everything else irrelevant. So if I do that, if I get that done, the rest doesn't matter. I can do it, that'll be good, but it's like just not important. I just need to get this done and the rest is irrelevant. That's another way of looking at the 20% gets you 80% of results idea. And so this law is also called Pareto's principle. It's well established. You can read about it. It's fascinating. I've actually written an article about it, and I will post a link to that below where there's a couple of other resources, some other ideas that I didn't mention in the video, and some more links for you to check out. So I hope you found this useful and apply it.